We don't really call work sessions to order, but we'll kind of do that and get started. We've got a special meeting that we'll jump into here in a bit, but we'll do the work session stuff first, and I will just turn it over to Dr. Daniel on that.
We're gonna turn it over to Kent. He's gonna give an overview of the budget and where we are.
Okay, so as I told Jim, this is old school today. It's all on the paper here. Each one of you have a paper, and we'll try to work from that. So what we have here is the first page is notes, which I'll be going through, and there's just a update on page 1 that shows where we think we'll be. Tomorrow is our fiscal year end for 26, and then the 27 budget, and the difference between the 26 and 27 budget. Behind that is a summary of our revenues for 26 and 27. Behind that is the expenditures. And then there's a little graph of our unencumbered cash. So I'm going to walk down through the notes, and we'll refer to the pages here as appropriate. So I want to start with our student revenues. Just let you know that the student revenues that show up in the budget for next year are based on the same credit hours as we had this year. The technology fee and the scholarship fee, we've been showing those in the operating budget, the general fund, for about the last 10 years. We used to show it in designated accounts. We're going to move them back into designated accounts for next year, so they won't show up in the operating budget. We have to keep track of them anyway, both the revenue and the expenditures, because it should be in and out the same amount each year. And it's a little easier to keep it segregated over in the designated accounts. So our state revenues, we know pretty much our state revenues for next year, because they're based on previous years, and the KBOR notifies us what our revenues will be for next year. It is subject, of course, if they don't have enough money to appropriate it, they can come in and make mid-year cuts. That's only happened like 1 or 2 times in the time that I've been here. It's very rare. The only exception there to knowing what we have for certain next year from the state is in the XL and CTE. They've made some changes to the funding formula there. That was part of some negotiations that the trustees did with the legislature to because it was pretty certain we were going to get cut, and the trustees working through Heather Morgan suggested where those cuts would be rather than have the legislature make them. I hope I'm saying that appropriately, but we were expecting those, but we don't know. There's certain programs that aren't going to be recognized for XL and CT yet. That's the high school students who are in technical programs. So there could be, we received about 800,000 this year. We budgeted a little over 400,000 for next year. And we think that's probably a minimum. It could go up a little bit. So we'll monitor that. Okay, on local sources, we're showing a budget, recommending a budget that is revenue neutral. So in other words, we're planning on recommending to you that you levy the same amount of taxes for YE 28 that we levied for, or excuse me, 27 that we levied for the 26 year. The valuation is going to go up 5.9%. So that would result in a decrease to the mill of about 3/4 of a mill. Overall, on the operating budget, on the revenues, um, if we disregard the loss of in the operating budget of the tech fee and the scholarship fee, which is being moved, there's an overall increase of a little over $1 million in 27 from what we're expecting in 26. And that's almost entirely due to the changes in the tuition rates that the board approved in, I think it was April, you approved those. On the expenditure budget, there's an overall increase in 27 of 716,000 over the 26 budget. And we can look at that in a minute. You can see the detail of it. But compensation increases in 27 amounted to 1,889,000, almost 1.9 million for compensation increases. So if you take those away, that means the non-compensation budgets decreased by 1.173 million, almost $2 million of decreases in the operating budget if you disregard the amount that was increased for compensation. And by the way, you can stop me and if you have questions or comments as we go along here.
As well as it's gonna take a lot of hours and a lot of time to get into the budget, but we see that it also proved to be very beneficial to us. And everybody contributed to that, and it really was a great joint effort, and finance was really picked up a big load. But exec cabinet really scrutinized and looked at a lot of stuff, so I would help you.
Ken, when you say compensation, are you including like non-wage personnel expenses, like our health insurance, the college's contribution to that, and
Right.
everything else?
Yeah, it would be,
Personnel related
it would be
expenses.
raises, health insurance, and then there's the, what we call the market equity adjustments.
Number 3 here, I wrote Wahoo.
Yeah, we worked hard to get there. We did it.
Had an air horn at the old.
So somebody write that down. That's a compliment that you. So I want to talk about the unspent budget, and we can kind of look at this a little more as we get into the details back here. Well, there's two things, the unspent budget and the year-end unencumbered cash, and they kind of go hand in hand. We started off the year estimating unspent budget of 2.4 million. Now I think it was about March or April, we did an analysis and we said, oh, we made a big mistake. We think it's only gonna be like 1.4 million. And now being one day away from year end, we're back to thinking it's going to be about 2.4 million. And I just want to highlight that's a really difficult part of our budget process to try to estimate. And Dr. Daniel has suggested that maybe cabinet will wager throughout the year and where that's going to end up. But again, we're budgeting for 1.4 unspent budget for next year. So we reduced it for a couple of reasons. We think that with the zero-based budget, it may be tighter next year. And the other thing is just a little more conservative. And if we get to the end of the year and it's better, that's better than, I think, having too much and going back the other way. So the year-end unencumbered cash, now we've had for a long time a rule of thumb, a target amount that the trustees have agreed to. I don't think it's in writing anywhere, but it's been noted in the budget updates for 25 years, probably at 10.5%. It has varied a little bit over the years, but right about 10.5%. And what we're suggesting, and it's built into the operating budget numbers that we're going to show you, we're recommending that every year we're gonna have a target of $1 million over that 10.5% as the year-end unencumbered cash. And we have more than that this year. So what we're proposing to do is move over or transfer the fund balance of about 1.4 million, I think, we can look at that, into what we're calling a college-wide contingency. And so we would really have sort of a two-tiered contingency over the 10.5%. There would be the $1 million above that we're going to administratively say we want this amount to be the amount over the 10.5 each year, the $1 million over that. And then whatever the difference is at year end, either go as an increase or a decrease to the college-wide contingency. And we'll manage that there's for a number of things. I'm going to let Dr. Daniel talk about this because she's operated with this in the past, but we could have one-time expenditures out of that. We could have unexpected contingencies, or we could look at different things like deferred maintenance or strategic priorities or things like that. And with that background, I asked Dr. Daniel.
I gave you a one-page handout on the contingency account so you could kind of understand how it came about. Part of it is that right now, for where Butler has stood, when we have revenue that comes in that we didn't necessarily expect, and this happens all the time during the year, you have a little more tuition, you have more scholarship dollars, you have tech fees, you have state reimburses a little more, they give us a supplemental on something. We get back different amounts of money during the year. They're usually not incredibly large amounts, but they are amounts. And normally what we do is just let that fall into unencumbered cash. But what it doesn't do for you is allow a strategic initiative. And then also when we went through the zero-based budgeting process, what we found out as people gave their presentations is we have these contingencies just spread throughout budgets. Does not really in line with zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting is every dollar has a purpose. And so we sweep those contingencies out and we put them into one main contingency account. Now we can talk very strategically about what we need to do, because if it's in this budget over here and somebody goes, well, I'm spending that, so maybe I'll do this. We don't know about it at the college and we can't make good decisions about where we spend that money. There are plenty of things, like I'll give you one example. We know in the software area, we're looking at some AI software to potentially replace some outdated software we have. But the way almost all software works, there's a fairly long implementation period, and you're almost carrying two costs for just a short amount of time, so that you're operating out of two systems at one time. This gives us a place in contingency to say, yes, this is a move we need to make, and here's how we can fund it. It's a one-time thing that's happening. Many times you'll have one-time expenses. Like this year, I would call it the office chair year. I don't know why, but almost all departments needed new office chairs. Well, they add up when you start looking at a lot of them. They're one-time funds. We look at it priority-based and make real strategic decisions. We know AI is important, and we have already had some good conversations in academics. Some of Dr. Malone's area, they have really come up with some creative ideas. They have things to do, and we have some of it funded through academics. But there will be other needs. There will be software needs that we have to support, and they will be things that move the college forward, and we can use expenses for those sorts of things. It will follow the same procedure that the other expenditures do. When it's a large expenditure, we will bring it to the board for approval. But if it's something small or minor that we're dealing with, then the executive cabinet will review those. It also will help promote good stewardship with budget directors, because when you kind of have a slush fund over here, you don't worry as much about your budgets because, well, I got that covered over there if something happened. This will make people pay a little more attention to their budgets and really make sure that they're in line. And if something's happening and they foresee, oh goodness, I didn't expect this is happening, they can bring that request. There'll be a formal process to bring that request to the cabinet, and we'll look at it strategically and say, do we need to fund this? It looks like this was missed somehow in the budget cycle. So the whole purpose of this is to create sort of a two-layer contingency. One that is very directed towards the whole college and operations, and the other one, the 1 million above, is to be flat. We're hoping that we don't have to touch it, that it always stays there, and anything above that amount, we really have those deep conversations about what do we need to do with this money? Where does it need to go? You know what? We need to put it in deferred maintenance. We know we need a dorm fund. We have things that we know are further down, and we have to make good judgments and calls about, how to deal with that money. And I think it will put us in a much better position to be able to approach things. Same thing with having moved the scholarships out to their designated, the tech fee out to the designated. The tech fee will start to handle over time. It'll take us 3, 4, 5 more years to get the tech fee exactly where it needs to be to really be supporting the tech that we have at the college. And any overage will end up moving into the IT designated account, which will turn out to be tech fee expenses that are not every year, not annual. Annual needs to be in the operating budget, but if it's not annual and we have to replace servers for these 3 years and it's 3 years out, we can plan for that. The tech fee can move money into there. The scholarship fee, the problem with that is we had no end point. We just kept awarding scholarships forever. And now we will stop and we will say, this is how much money we have. So we won't be over. And we were getting all of our budgets in order. The contingency, the main contingency is basically to keep us strategically thinking, to be good stewards of our budget and make sure that we're really addressing the things that we need to address as a college. Sometimes opportunities come along that you didn't anticipate when you were doing budget, and you want to be able to take advantage of those opportunities for the college. And that's what that fund will allow us to do as well. So that's the main purpose, but I'm happy to try to answer any questions or anything that you guys think have.
Do you have a number in mind over and above the 10.5 plus 1?
1 million is where we set it.
So, but if maybe I misunderstood, I thought that we wanted $1 million over the 10.5 and then the contingency fund was
And then the
above that?
contingency fund is going to be whatever so we did a lot of work and a lot of cleanup. I would suspect this year we have a little bit more to put in contingency. We know it's about 1.4, right? We really have about 2 million.
Yeah,
But we want to put 500,000 in deferred maintenance. So we're moving that into deferred maintenance and 1.4 into contingency. And that is a great start. But we've done a ton of cleanup and there's more that we can do, but it just takes time to go through all these counts and straighten them up. But we're trying to make things as easy as possible so that next year when we come to the operating budget, it's going to be so much cleaner and easier because we will have tidied up all of the accounts. But it's not any one person doing it. Honestly, the finance department did big lifts, but everybody on that executive cabinet contributed, and it was just a really great exercise. And I think everyone learned a lot about the budget. That's the other piece that's important to me. I really believe in transparency to the employees of the college as well as the board. And I feel like, how do we educate people to help us make good decisions if they don't understand how our budget works, and what the pieces are? Makes it so much easier. They don't understand uncovered cash doing this. Well, you have 2.2 million. Why can't you, do this? I don't understand why you can't give that to us or why we can't use it. They understand we're keeping $1 million flat in case there was an oops, something that happened that got unaccounted for. And they understand a college contingency where they can come and say, here's an initiative we really need to do. Is there any way that this could be considered for the contingency account? So that they get. But it helps. You don't ever want really one-time funding things in your budget because now you got to turn around and try to dig it back out the next year. And you don't want to do that because there'll be another area that needs it for one time. So it just keeps it cleaner and easier. And it's forces the strategic conversation. It forces it. You can't not do it because every time you have revenue over or under, you have to have those conversations about what's important. That's the idea.
Would you remind me again, who's on the executive cabinet?
All of those guys you see sitting there, all the VPs.
How nice.
The smiling faces over there. That was great.
Thanks for all your work, everyone.
Thank you.
Unexpected surprise.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'd like to continue, and I'd like to, we have a few other discussion items here at the bottom of the first page. But I'd like to go into some of the detail. I'd like to jump back to the last page where it shows the graph of where our unencumbered cash has been and where we expect it to go. And you can see it really spiked there at 2021. We had a lot of COVID money coming in. It's gone up and down since then. But if you notice in 26 to 27, how, well, first of all, the red line there is the 10.5%. And the black line is the actual unencumbered cash. And you can see how from 26 to 27, those are parallel. That's what we expect, or that's what we're going to force it to do in the future. So it's always $1 million above. And so the way we do that is by how much goes in or comes out of this institutional contingency at year end. This year, with the 2.4% expected unspent budget, we were able to put in like $1.4 million in that contingency to start and also fund another 500,000. And I just wanted to say one other thing about this. I know there was a big issue at the legislature and they passed that proviso last year, concern about how much money the community colleges have, on hand. And I think the theory was there that they could help the taxpayers by getting that down, but that's not really what helps with the taxes. What helps with the taxes is if you don't continually have a deficit budget. Now, we've had deficit budgets. We had a deficit budget this year, but we had the unencumbered cash to cover that. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I really wanted to say. It's more keeping your revenues above your expenditures that helps keep the taxes reasonable as we go forward. So, you go back then to what's labeled page 1. I'll just kind of go through this pretty quickly. You can see that like on operating revenues, we're showing this big decrease of $5.4 million. That's because we're taking out a little over 3 million of the scholarship fees and a little over 3 million of the technology fees that were in the operating budget. Now they're being designated. And talk more about that when we get to the next page. On the expenditure budget, sort of the same thing, big 5.8 million lower than that. Down on line 12, it says designated fund transfer, see note to 2.154 million. And then there's a note down at the bottom. So this is showing we're taking this 1.6 million to the institutional contingency and $500,000 to deferred maintenance. And so we probably won't give you, we'll give you a bit of an update at the July board meeting on the operating budget because that meeting's on the 14th. We'll actually close the books. Carrie will close the general ledger on July 9th. And that'll sort of be our cutoff date. There'll still be what we call audit adjustments after that, but we cut off the books on that date going forward and for our unaudited revenues and expenditures and the general ledger that goes to the auditors. But we won't plan on having, I mean, I'm not planning on bringing anything to like a July work session unless you guys really want to meet for a work session in July. But since we're not doing the revenue, not planning to exceed revenue neutral, we don't have to pass anything in July. In at the August board meeting, we'll have to pass a notice of public hearing. And in September, you'll actually approve the budget. So that's sort of the tentative calendar going forward. So if there's no questions or anything, I'd like to just go to the next page, which is the revenues. And what we show here is the first column of numbers, what we're expecting the revenues to be for the current year that will end tomorrow. So there's no, hopefully, real surprises there. And then the revenues for next year show up in the 27 column, the right-hand column. And so again, it shows down at the bottom on line 26 that it's $5.5 million less in revenue for next year, but actually, in that note down below, it's about a little over 1 million increase. Again, I mentioned this earlier, that's almost entirely from the change in the tuition rates for next year. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through here, but if you're, looking at this at home and you have questions, be sure and let us know, and we'll take a look at them for you. Over on the next page, page 3, this is where we show in detail everything. It starts with the 26 expenditure budget and ends up with the 27 budget down on the bottom line. Again, you can take a look at your leisure of all the things that are coming in or out of the budget, the 27 budget, compared to what was in there for the 26 budget. And again, I'm not going to take a lot of time to go through this. We have time. If you have questions, they can be brought back next month, or you can email them to Dr. Daniel or myself. Or if anything jumps out at you right now, we can talk about it.
How come there's 2 enrollment coaches from additional needs and then 2 from market equity budget,
So
11 and 12?
yeah, so there are 4 enrollment coaches that are being added.
Well,
We've-
they're not added, they're moved over.
Right.
They were- That's what we had to make it for them in the budget, but he noted where we actually found the money in the budget.
Right. They are added technically from the 26 budget to the 27, but they were in place previous to that, but some of them were out of the one-time funding. So I do have a few items back on the first page, just where I said other discussion items on number 8. And I know I haven't really got us to 10 minutes to late like the clock says there. I think we're okay. This shouldn't take much longer and we can get into the meeting. Most of this I've probably gone through the budget calendar. I went through real quickly. The designated fund admin review, I wanted to spend just a minute on that. We have a lot of designated funds, and when we give you the booklet 3 times a year, we detail all of those. We have some of the bigger designated accounts like the deferred maintenance, the technology budget. This new contingency budget will be a big one. And all of those things, we detail the expenditures that go in and out of that, and they're all subject to the expenditure approvals. 35,000 has to come to the board. Below that, Dr. Daniel can approve it. And there's, 10,000 level for vice presidents. So, but then we have a lot of other designated accounts for different reasons. Some of them are course fees. That's a big chunk of them. And there are other smaller designated accounts. That's something that we've talked a lot about this year at the cabinet level. And that's going to be a priority at the cabinet level going forward, because we think there's a lot of those accounts that we haven't paid quite enough attention to over the past years. Some of them have built up budgets. I'm not saying that belong there, but we're going to really try to scrutinize those more. And I just want to mention that's something we have a priority at the cabinet level to look at those. A deferred maintenance, I did want to talk about that again. We're going to be able to put some money into deferred maintenance. We get about $600,000 a year now from the state for deferred maintenance. We have like $42 million, if you really look at everything that we'd like to do over the next 5 to 8 years. But if this budget's approved as we're presenting it, that will give us the opportunity to know how much we have in deferred maintenance funds going forward. It gives Ireland a chance to work with the architects to bring back recommendations. We want to get a little more input from the capital project team. There's 2 members on the board. We can do that, but this way, once the budget's approved, because we have to plan for those big projects almost a year in advance. A lot of them are done over the summer, but the planning has to be done in the fall by the latest and awarded, in the spring. So I did just want to spend a minute talking about that and let you know that's something that we think we can get a jump on it by getting these amounts in the budget at this time. And I really, you mentioned the scholarship awarding process. I'm not sure we need to talk anymore about that unless you have anything else. So that really wraps up what I wanted to present to you tonight. We feel like we're in pretty good shape moving forward right now.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's great news. Yeah. Dr. Malone, did you have something to share with us?
Hold it
Just-
down.
Huh?
Hold the button down.
Well, I think I got it.
Okay.
Hello. So this is a brief item and it's really here for your feedback. You all have enjoyed the pleasure of monitoring reports at the beginning of board meetings, and those are based off of, can't find my right notes. Those are based on our existing academic org structure, which will go vamonos as of July 1. Moving from 6 major academic divisions down to 5. Each one of those divisions is supervised by one of 2 executive deans, and those executive deans also control or directly administer a whole pocket of general education courses. So, you had, in my time here, you've had Dr. Troy Nordman, who's retired. He presented on HSBS. That division, as of July 1, will not exist in the same way. So it's an opportunity for to certainly look at a different schedule of reporting, but also to maybe revise the reporting itself and really focus it in on data, which is what we would like to see. Maybe a little bit less narrative, not none, but more data. So what you have in front of you at places is the current annual schedule of when those monitoring reports come to you all, and then a new recommended schedule. And what we're recommending is that while we revise the monitoring report schedule, we would prefer to not, or we would ask to not do any monitoring reports from now until January, at least on the academic side. And really, we'd have January off as the start of the semester. So you'd see their first academic monitoring report coming in February. And we've proposed, you see the highlighting really means nothing. Ignore the highlighting. But you see the different division titles. We'd start with ag. There'd be the education, human services. We would still keep our report from faculty development. in May, kind of a dual report, one on the sites and locations. Looking at perhaps some academic cost accounting from sites, locations. And then those general education courses that are really just controlled by those two executive deans. And then moving on through the year. So there'd be a few different points of the year where no report. January for start of the semester, December for end of the semester, and then August for start of the real whole academic year. If there are no concerns with that plan, going once, would you like to reduce them further?
That's just me. I'm only here for a year and a half.
Well, I think the next part of the conversation is also what data points are you all interested in seeing when you think about the divisions? We do not need to have these reports be 6, 7 page things. They can be economical in the time taken to prepare them and the information given that's really relevant to you. So off the top of, and it doesn't have to be all tonight, but off the top of your heads, are there data pieces that you would?
Growth and decline.
Well, I was talking and I didn't hear you. What would you repeat, please?
Program growth and decline.
Okay.
That seems to be a common theme of questions that come up when we're looking at the tables, is which ones show over time. Why is there 100 less students in this program than last year or something like that? Those kinds of issues. What shall we concern?
Bill ratio, faculty to student ratio.
Getting-
Some of them will never be squared.
You know, and upper level calc sequences and all those. There are a few of those for sure, yes, but fill ratio.
I'd like to see their accomplishments, what we're working on. I'm interested in the nursing department right now because they have finished their big test. I'd like to know what our passing rate was.
Talked a little bit about possibly, you know, a lot of times they list every single accomplishment. I think listing the top 3 to 4 big, anything that's big and notable. Most of the time we recognize them anyway at the board, but I like the pass rate is great. But we will add those big ones in for sure.
That's for a lot of them, on them and us, or there and Reed.
Absolutely.
They're
And
messing
I
up.
mean, from my view, you're wanting to know what affects the operations, the revenue, the strategic initiatives that are happening at the college. You need the ability to be able to make those decisions, and the data is what's going to drive that. So that's why we're asking for input, because I mean, it's nice to see the whole structure and, you know, the narrative fluff is great every once in a while, but I think for the most part, you're looking for the meaningful pieces that you can, you know, add value to say, why are we doing this? Or why did this happen? You know, you guys have all asked some really good questions about the data, you know, throughout the year. And I think we can do a better job at providing you the data to look at. But we're trying to look at some sort of same process for every single one so that you know you can go right to it and look at it.
Along the same line, Michelle was mentioning the school ratio, like location, maybe that's the cost accounting by location. What classes how employed.
Yeah, I have to give kudos to Aiden. He's really done a good job recently,
has.
really refining the academic cost accounting. That is coming along really well for us. And the best part is it's very much real time, like we're getting, you know, accurate information to be able to work on. So we're still, you know, still working on it, but I think we will be ready to add that. And so, you know, kudos. That's been phenomenal.
And we'll keep getting that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The way right now is modeling up our reflection, which happens this summer. So we will finish that sometime in August, and then I'll have that set of data to input into the model. Information for everyone.
I say thank you, Dr. Daniel, for moving us towards
Yes.
transparency and openness and.
Thank you.
Fact that we're actually doing it.
Can't do it without a really good.
No, I know, but I mean.
Thank you, thank you, thank you,
It's
thank
been
you,
a
thank
fight
you.
for So long to try to get to it, but we don't want to fight about it. We just want to know that's what, and make the best decision. Thank you very much for that.
I think that contingency.
And
fund-
everyone helping along the way too. Very nice.
The contingency fund move up, it's easy to spend $3,000 here, $4,000 there, nickel and dime in a line.
Oh. Dr. Malone, I think it would be interesting to see the different departments, their, I guess, quest for knowledge, the continuing education that each department is taking. I think we have some KPIs on your report. Overall at school, but if we could divide that up by department, I think it'd be interesting. Maybe breed a little competitiveness between departments, see if we can learn more. Competition's a good thing.
Got it.
That is one of the things that we have talked about.
In terms of the professional development, we're curating a little bit different travel policy. It originated because of liability. Christina's area has been working on it. So its original purpose from my standpoint was I was worried about the liability of the college. We are only one of 2 colleges that don't have it, and Barton is the other one, and we're both embarking on that. That made me really nervous when I realized we didn't have it. But out of that came the idea of the professional development. A lot of times, because of the way we operate right now, we don't know when somebody is out at professional development, and therefore we can't garner, unless we specifically go to them or their supervisor happened to say something. I want to know who those people are, so you guys know the things that we're doing that are out there, and when something is really unique, and you can learn about it. So it's definitely in line with what you're asking for.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Continuing education.
Yes.
Well, and the same thing with what Mary Martha's been asking for is it, as people go on sabbaticals and they're working on specific projects, how are those projects being brought back to help other instructors and students and things like that? And I know we've done a lot of work, or a lot of people have taken sabbaticals to save on textbook costs and things like that, but it would be nice to hear,
Being a little more nimble too. We're in a unique situation where things can go south on us.
Absolutely. With the way the state is changing, and we do have to here. That's why I'm very happy about this, because I feel like we need to see some money back and be able to respond to what the changes are without it really hurting our operations part.
One last piece is thinking about there's certainly the academic cost accounting by program, but thoughts about the types of data you'd like to see related to our sites, Rose Hill, Council Grove, those places.
Except for your not council, I think cover our attendance. You can just show us that they appreciate it. We're happy to go, but help us be there and not just we put the door and wait.
Yes, we are.
No, it's for the soldiers, and it's a very small percentage of soldiers for sure. In comparison to the total that are out. Do what? Oh, I understand. I'd be happy to just give them scholarships, come to Hanover for free. I have all the extra expense being on base. It's a convenient, but soldiers aren't.
We don't have to pay for common, base.
No, I know, it's just
not
that-
like Council Grove where there's a.
No, I mean, it's just an expense for getting our teachers on there. Not the easy. Yeah.
It was just efficiency of the.
Well, I'm glad to hear, I'm not kind of close down the whole center, but I'm glad it's going away. If you want to come to all drive down over, check us out. We don't need to go to the old malls. Come see our big old campus fan over.
When does it close?
Well, our lease is not for next year, so after the census day, we're gonna start to have those conversations about, where people go, how the stuff, we're fortunately, to be able to play that energy.
Okay, well, I certainly appreciate all the feedback. If you have other thoughts, please do share them. Thanks.
Great idea, thank you. Any other items to talk about the work session before we move into our special meeting?
The only thing I was wondering about was and I don't know if the final vote has been tallied on the two new members that Mary Martha voted on.
So I'll ask you about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it passed.
I think it did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do we want to fill everybody else in on what it is, or can?
It's just adding tech school colleges into the path.
At the last KACC meeting, Salina Area Technical College and Manhattan Area Technical College asked to be a part of the Kansas Association of Community Colleges and pay their respective fees and have voting rights. And both of them do not expect to be a part of K-State's program, where Northwest Tech is a part of Fort Hays State. Wichita State is, now I know that Flint Hills up in Emporia has rebuffed a lot of what Emporia State would like to do, but anyway, that was the question that came to us in the last meeting.
Not mandated.
No, no, no.
No, 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 no.
Think I like the fact that, oh, you're doing fine.
Yes.
That's the what I'm doing for us. But the other tech colleges have the opportunity to back on their.
Third one that's talking about, that they haven't decided one way or another. But it's all about the lobbyists. They like what Heather Morgan's doing. They like what the community colleges are doing. But I will tell you, all the other tech colleges, all of them, including WSU Tech, are more or less coming to the table right now about looking at funding, because they know that we did the right thing. We spent a whole year this last year planning and preparing and offering help to the legislator, looking for ways that we could be more efficient and, how it would work. And Tech didn't get in that conversation because they were very late to the conversation. They wanted to start doing it in March. And we're like, no, we're done. This is what we're doing. And so now they're willing to come to the table a lot sooner. And honestly, we're stronger if we're all together, because it does affect all of us. So I'm glad to see that that's the case. There's a lot more synergy between, all the tech colleges, including WSU Tech, in that regard. So that's a good thing for everybody.
Good deal. Thanks for the info.